Today, I am super excited to sit down with my guest, a director, a producer, a motivational speaker. She is a LGBTQ influencer. She's part of Mayor Dickens' transition team, and she's just an overall dope person. And so I'm honored to be sitting down today with my guest, Lisa Cunningham, aka Captain Cunningham. How you feeling today?
I'm honored to be here.
Yeah,
because this is like historic territory. You know, young, black, and vegan. I mean, I think 20 years from now, we're going to be looking back on this saying, yes, there were some people who were pioneering this.
Funny thing, I said Lisa is a director and a producer, so I had everything set up today, and this is how dope she is. She came in, she's checking my camera, she said, sit in, okay, that's cool. Oh, let me put this in the background. And so one thing I can say about you is you bring excellence wherever you go. They say it's not about who you know, but it's about who knows you. Let me ask you this. How does it feel to be followed by Barack Obama?
Oh, please. He follows a whole bunch of people, by the way.
But he don't follow me. He don't follow me. So how does that feel? When did he follow you? Can you help me get Michelle on the show?
Yeah, hey, it was during the election. He followed like 100,000 people, and I was one of them. So I am just happy to, I still covet that follow, okay?
So your website is IHaveTheSecret.com, right?
Yeah.
What's the secret and how did you get it?
You know what's so crazy, Keith? I got that web domain in 2010. I didn't know what I was even going to manifest into at that point. I had seen the movie The Secret.
Right.
And it changed my life, and I wasn't equipped at that time to make the necessary steps, but it was implanted in me. When you start thinking about The Secret, it really means that all of the things that we think are the secret in our lives, they're not. You know, it's this destination envy. It's the always thinking we need the car, the girl, the guy, you know, all of these external things. The secret is that we have it inside of us. And if we stop focusing on what we don't have, we will attract everything that we want. And it's a very hard thing to do, because you've got to think and try to identify, you know what, that last relationship sucked, right? And so you think, I gotta start thinking about, I don't want that. I don't want that again.
Right.
But that is the opposite of what you need to do, because that which you think about, you attract to it. So even though you're saying, I don't want another F-boy, I don't want another this, you get that, because that's what you're talking about to yourself. So you just gotta reprogram your brain to only think about what you want in your life. And that's truly the secret, but it is very hard for us to focus on that, because if you think about it, most of our conversations, like if you look at social media, it's all people griping and talking about situations and issues because they're focused on the negative. We are typically focused on the negative. So that in itself sets us up for failure in life. It's the deepest thing ever. And when I found it out and started truly implementing it, there was no stopping me after that.
So what was that moment when it clicked? Because you bought the website in 2010. I have a similar story where I had this book. It was called Asking It Is Given. And
it's one of my favorite books.
I started to read it, and I was just like, nah, I was not feeling it. And it sat in my car for months and months. Just one day randomly, I just thought about the book and I picked it up, and that became the most important book that I've ever read in my life. When
I first got introduced to The Secret, it was actually before the movie. It was the book Asking It Was Given. It was given to me by my girlfriend at the time. So that's even crazier that you mentioned that today. Wow. But I think that my father died. I had one of those moments in your life where you're looking for the truth, you're looking for direction, because I knew my life it was crap. I knew it. And so when my father died, it was this thing of, I need to figure out what my legacy is really gonna be. I know that this can't be it. And I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know who God was. I didn't know my relationship to spirit. I had never meditated. I mean, you know, I grew up Catholic, and there just wasn't a lot of wiggle room for you to go deeper and figure yourself out, because it's a very rigid kind of, you know, doctrine that you're taught. Not to knock any religion at all. I mean, I think that what we have to do a lot of times is in tandem, right? Is kind of, is you can have a religious base, but what's your spiritual base? And have those two things kind of work in tandem. Yeah. I just wasn't working in tandem, except for being selfish and, you know, not pouring into others. But when I found that secret in that book, Ask and It Is Given, it was a game changer, because really, when you ask, it really is given.
You mentioned your dad, and I know that 2006 was like a wake-up call, right? Yeah. Can you kind of like paint that picture and even implement, because you were like doing major things in the industry at that time, right?
Yeah. I mean, you know, when my dad died, literally my mother had to call me back to back, and I knew that something was wrong. I was in the middle of the edit for the Gucci Man So Icy video. I actually directed that video. God awful video, everyone. But
I watched it. It wasn't that bad.
It was pretty bad. But and that's Gucci's first video, and so I was on a high, right? Because I'm celebrating. I'm doing all of this stuff, and I had to get my mother to call me several times to tell me, get to your father before he passes away, because I was so disconnected at the time from my family. Just thinking about that right now almost makes me tear up at the disconnect. And I got there in the nick of time. I was able to hold his hand and talk to him before he passed away. And it was that moment, leaving there, I knew that ultimately something had to change. I was spiritually, mentally, physically a mess. Yeah. And so what could I do to get out of it? And what I want everybody who's listening to know is that we think that change has to come so quickly. Yeah. We think, no, it was baby steps. It was a message here in 2006 with the book Ask and It Is Given. It was a few years later with the movie I have, the movie The Secret, right? And then it just built that momentum up, because my intention was, I am going to elevate to a different level. Yeah. Didn't know how I was ever going to get there, but it's that intention that you have to do first that makes it all make sense later. And that's the hardest thing for us to learn.
I heard you say one time that your purpose was to make people have aha moments. Yeah. Is that still your purpose?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, it still is. Because that's what happened to me. Somebody had to give me an aha moment. And since I'm a director and I can produce content, like this wonderful content you're doing right now, Young, Black, and Vegan is one of those things where somebody might watch this and have an aha moment to change a portion of their life. Yeah. And I just love that, because content truly is king. Yeah. And you can tell so much more through a video product. And I just want people to be like, oh, I never thought of that like that. Never thought of that like that. And that's what I strive for every single day with the organizations that I work with, campaigns. Like recently, I've worked on campaigns with artists like Mary J. Blige and Sierra, and people are like, oh, that's dope and hype and everything. And I'm like, no, what's dope is that I get to bring them into a conversation that's not about music, that's about women's health, right? I did a campaign recently with Jennifer Lewis, the godmother of Black Hollywood, and she was talking about media literacy, something that we don't talk about as Black folks. We be sharing so much fake news through our social media networks all the time. And this particular campaign called Truth Check is like, check your timeline before you share it. But so it's taking those celebrities and giving people, you know, all of this wonderful information that they'll listen to from them. They may not listen to it as easily from us, right? Right. Yeah.
All right, Lisa, so we're going to continue this conversation, but right now we're going to get into some good food.
Oh, come on.
Today we got Planted Soul. It's a spot here in Atlanta, which is, you know, Ghost Kitchen, so that's why we're not in a restaurant today. But nonetheless, we're ready to jump into it, and we'll be back in a few with some more conversation. Yeah, let's get it.
Let's do it. Yes.
Appreciate you, TK. Oh, this is
Oh boy.
looking amazing right here.
Okay, this right here. This will be my first time actually having vegan mac and cheese, because this is just something I'm giving up.
This is the real test right here.
This is a real test. Okay.
Honest opinions.
I'm digging what they're putting out here.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
I might not have to go back to regular mac and cheese after this. I'm gonna dig into these candy yams.
I was just about to ask you, did you get into these candy yams though?
Okay. They're 2 for 2 right now.
2 for 2.
Candy yams are hitting. Oh, I'm getting into it. It's like, turn the cameras off. I mean, I need to be able to grow.
Yeah. We're gonna finish this food, and yeah, we'll talk to y'all in a few. The last time I had the honor of working with you on set, you mentioned that you were on a weight loss journey, and you actually lost a significant amount of weight, and you've been doing like races. And tell me about that journey.
Well, you look at your life at different stages, and there's this concept that people tell you is that you can't have everything. That just drives me nuts when I hear that. So I was one of those people who subliminally bought into that. I was like, oh, I got a great career. Oh, and now I have a great girlfriend. My health, I'll try to get to it eventually, because you can't have everything all at once. You absolutely freaking can.
Yeah.
And once I decided that I could, it was the biggest game changer, because what we don't realize is a lot of times in our day-to-day lives, we are handicapped. We are disabled. And what I mean by that is I didn't realize that with all of the extra weight, there were so many things I wasn't doing. There was preparation that I couldn't do. There was me leaving a set early, because I didn't have any more gas in my tank to even keep going, to go and do something else with some people afterwards. I was literally that physically tired from just having been on set that day. I didn't realize how many different areas I was limited. And then when I started to lose that weight, it just took all of those layers off of me. I felt like I was just shedding so much dead skin and the weight. So for me, the weight loss is truly about freedom. And as Black people, we just don't realize how many different ways we're shackled.
Right.
And food has shackled us as a people for our whole lives. I started, when I was preparing to come see you today, I was thinking, I'm like, what is like some of my earliest memories of food? Like positive memories, like that make me feel all good, right? And my parents were amazing. I mean, they used to call my family the Huxtables. But one thing my mother used to do when my dad would go out of town, she would treat us with Kentucky Fried Chicken. Now think about that. Because my dad, he was a scientist, and he knew about the greenhouse effect. He knew about how food affects us. So he didn't want fried food. It was all of this regimen when Daddy was around.
Yeah.
So when he wasn't here, my mother thought the reward, get that, was to feed me the worst food that I could possibly put in my body.
Right.
And that's my fondest food memory.
Wow.
First of all, it was a reward. That's number one. And secondly, it was this bonding moment with my mother. So those are two things that I've had to overcome as an adult to deal with my own food issues.
You're dreaming for yourself differently these days.
Yes.
Can you just kind of break down
Sure.
like dreaming versus writing goals?
It's interesting because, as I've been doing these races lately, I dreamed of doing the Peachtree Road Race. It wasn't that I dreamed of a particular weight loss goal. If I can stress anything the most, we always think about, I want a new Mercedes, I want a big house, I want to move here. No, think about the feeling of what you're really wanting from those things, right? I knew that I wanted to celebrate with my family members after I did this race. I knew that by doing this race, that would mean that I would be a certain amount of healthy in order to even do the race, right?
Right.
So that's what the dream is for me. The dreaming is to get to that bigger sense of accomplishment, and not the end goal in that sense, and not the you know, the, oh, I want my Peachtree Road Race t-shirt. No, stay in the emotion of the dream. Stay in the motion and not the physicality of the dream. And that's what I had to learn.
So the emotion is the key.
Yes, the emotion is the key.
Wow.
Yeah, because that's what's in us. You know, we are humans living a spiritual experience. So it's like we're you know, I'm old school. There was a song by the Police, Spirits in the Material World.
Yeah.
We are spirits in the material world. So we have to act like that. In spirits, we're led by our emotions. We're not led by that car we think we want.
Yeah.
That's a byproduct of an emotion that, as a person, we think we need that to make us feel a certain way.
Right.
But what if it's not the car that we really needed? You know? So that's why we have to get in touch with ourselves as men, as women. We have to get in touch with our emotions more and more.
I want to backtrack a little bit too,
Sure.
when talking about the weight loss.
You know, this is another thing I'm thinking about with the whole weight loss thing. It's like we have to really look at ourselves as whole beings.
Right.
And what I mean by that is we have to look at ourselves. Who I was at 12 is not who I am at 52. That's right, I'm 52.
First of all, pause, hold up, stop. Black don't crack. That's amazing right there. You don't look 52 at all.
So we have to understand that our bodies are different, right?
Yeah.
So whatever I needed to do at 40, I probably need to do something different. So I realize now I can't just eat right and keep a great weight and health. I have to move this body. And if we would train our young people to move our body from the time we were little, we wouldn't have adults like me trying to figure it out as I got older. But so I just simply started with walking a mile.
Yeah.
I was like, can I walk a mile? And then that mile turned into 2 to 3 to 7. In 8 months ago, I couldn't have even walked that mile.
Wow.
So that's another thing, is think about that. Think about how people don't start because they think it's gonna take so long. December 2021, I looked at a photo of myself and I said, never again, not anymore. I looked at that picture and I just knew that there was a healthier person on the other side of that photo. And today I'm a person who is just proud to say that I took the action, you know? It's the baby steps. That's all. It's the baby steps.
Okay, so you are a music kid. Let me ask you, what's one of your favorite remixes that come to mind?
Oh boy, you got me on that. Okay. Oh wow. Gosh, one of my favorite remixes of all time is "Sleeping in My Bed."
Sleeping in my bed. Drew Hill?
Yeah.
Drew Hill?
The
Okay.
Drew Hill remix.
That's
"Sleeping
a
in
good
My Bed."
one. And the reason why I asked you about remix
Okay.
is because you have a thing you say where you remixed your life.
Yeah.
Break down remixing your life. How can somebody take
Yeah.
where they are right now and remix it?
I'm so glad you asked me about the remix because I do come from the entertainment industry and the music industry, and you know, remixes were such a part of my growing up. But when you think about a remix, it's a song that is a knockoff of the original, right? But in order to make that song, you're gonna have to do some things. You might have to slow down the beat a bit. You might speed the beat up. You might collaborate with different people, okay? So that's why I call my formula to life, when you want to change it, the remix. Because that's what I had to do. I had to, when people told me I was an assistant director and I wasn't ever going to be anything but an assistant director, I had to stop and take a step back. I had to not take jobs, right? And that's scary, but that's a part of the remix because I knew that on the other side of that was directing, right? And then when I was only directing music videos, I had to do the same thing. I had to stop and take a step back and say, I don't want to direct music videos. I want to direct other projects that have some sort of, you know, socially redeeming value to them, right?
Right.
But the biggest was the collaboration. because we get stuck in our comfort zones. We get stuck working with the same people all the time.
Right.
And I was, quite frankly, Keith, I was scared. And I'm gonna tell you why I was scared, and it's because I grew up in Atlanta, and they always call Atlanta the city too busy to hate, and it truly is a city that makes you feel welcome, right?
Right.
But I felt like I was only welcome in a certain group. I felt like the entertainment industry was a group of misfits, and I was one of the misfits. I couldn't be in the mainstream, but I was cool being with the misfits.
Yeah.
And when I started realizing I wanted to do things in the mainstream, I was scared because I thought those people wouldn't accept a girl that looked like me.
Wow.
Because they weren't gonna understand me. So I did a project for the Atlanta Voice, one of my favorite. It's a heritage newspaper turned online print now. And I did a video for their 40th anniversary. And they had a huge gala for this thing, and my video was the first thing that they played. I was scared to walk in the building because I knew that place was filled with old Atlanta.
Right.
That place was filled with people that was like 70 and, you know, conservative Black Atlanta. And I was so scared of conservative Black Atlanta because I'm like, they don't understand this.
Yeah.
So I walk in there terrified, and the first person who talked to me, the editor's husband, and he said, first of all, I want to know, how do you identify? This man is like 60 plus years old. He asked me, how do I identify? And for those who don't know, that's basically asking me what my pronouns are. Am I she, her, he, him? And I said, I identify as a woman, I'm she, her.
Yeah.
And he said, girl, you did the hell out of that video.
Yeah.
It's literally easily one of those moments in life that was a game changer for me. From that day on, I knew I deserved to be in the room with everybody. And this is who you see today because of that. Yeah. You know, and I just tell that to anybody, whether, you know, it might be a Black man who came from humble beginnings that doesn't think that he can be somewhere, right? So it's all these different versions and limitations we put on ourselves. Mine happened to be the LGBTQ card. Somebody else's is something else, right? Right. But we should never limit ourselves. I could see if somebody else is limiting us. Nobody was even limiting me but me.
I think a great way to end this is if you can break this down for me.
Sure.
Subtractors, adders,
yeah.
multipliers, dividers.
Yeah. Look at your life, look at the people in your life, but wait, here's the kicker. And also look at yourself. You can't let yourself off the hook, okay? So there are adders, subtractors, multipliers, and dividers. The adders part makes a lot of sense. It's easy for us to understand because, you know, that's a good friend of yours. If you're sick, they might bring you a little food over. They add to your life. Right. The subtractors, we kind of understand that too. You know, there are people who subtract and we're like, ooh, they just a little too negative. Yeah, energy suckers, okay? Dividers, a lot of times those are like family members most of the times. Those are people who, you know, they pit you up against your sister and this, that, and the other, and we have to navigate those circles. But what I challenge everybody to do is find more multipliers because those are the people outside of your comfort zone. Back to that comfort zone again, because those are the people who we typically are a little bit higher than us. Because in order to multiply your life, they usually are at a level that you're trying to get to. Those multipliers aren't naturally in your normal scope of view every day. So you have to go looking for them. Right. And so when you find those multipliers, oh my gosh, it's a game changer.
Yeah. So where should people look for multipliers?
I joke about this. I'm like, those smartphones that we have, 90% of people are usually following celebrities, blog sites, their friends, but you're a screenwriter, you're a director. Why are you not following other screenwriters? If you notice in our field, the showrunners, the screenwriters, these are the people who have 2,000 to 20,000 people following them. That means when you make a comment on their page, they actually saw it.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me how you can connect with people. You can send a DM and ask for, an informal, an informational interview with somebody. You told me how you ran into John Sally,
right?
To be able to do an interview with him. So there are always ways. Multipliers are right in front of you, and you just have to seize the day sometimes to find them.
Right.
Yeah.
Closed mouth don't get fed.
It never has.
Say, right?
It never has.
Yeah. So, Lisa, thank you so much for coming to sit down and break bread with me. Hopefully the food was cool.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Planet Soul in Atlanta, definitely check them out because it was slapping. So good to see you and have this conversation. I'm sure people will look at this and somebody's gonna walk away inspired. And even if they just pick up asking it is given, like we know we planted a seed. Where can people find you?
Oh, I'm on social media at Capt Cunningham, short for Captain Cunningham. And my website is ihavethesecret.com.
Check out ihavethesecret.com. I'm Keith Terrell. This is Young, Black, and Vegan, and we out.
We out.